Good evening and welcome to Sports Hour with Miller and Watson. I'm your host, Morgan Miller, joined by my awesome analyst, Kylan Watson. Today we have a variety of topics, kind of all the offseason of the NBA and the NFL. We're going to start with some Damian Lillard watch and head down to where we think he's going to end up. Talk some Sixers with your favorites.
Let's go.
I know.
Let's go.
I know. We have to get down to Philly when you're here, right?
Yes,
like we can't. You came up from Philly today specifically because you wanted to talk a little bit about Philly.
I did.
I agree. So let's head back to the NBA. We're going to start at the Damian Lillard watch. Obviously, the Portland Trailblazers point guard requested a trade all the way back on July 1st, it being July 24th now.
Yep, 22 days ago.
22 days ago, and he said that he wants to end up in Miami, right?
Yes. And, you know, as far as that, Bleacher Report's Chris Haynes is talking about Miami's frustration with the lack of communication and specificity from Portland, which I think is impeding, or which he says is impeding the trade process.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's probably, in my opinion, Morgan, because, you know, Portland doesn't want Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, some more bench pieces, picks, and a Wawa or Bodega hoodie for one of the best scorers in the league.
It's true.
Like, let me run down some of his stats
Yeah,
for y'all.
please do.
He averages 32.2 points per game, 46.3 field goal percentage, a 37.3 three-point percentage, and 7.3 assists, which actually, of all four of these stats, is the decline, because 4 years ago, he was averaging 8 assists per game, and now he's down to 7.3 assists. Now, that's no knock on Damian Lillard, big fan of his. But, you know, that's what happens when you trade C.J. McCollum and you get a little bit less talent around you. But, yeah, Damian Lillard, he wants out of Portland. He's finally gotten tired of being loyal.
Yeah.
And actually wants to go to a contender. I don't know why he wants to go to Miami, but he wants
I know where you want him to go. First, okay, that's no secret. We know where you would like him to go.
I do, man.
But
I do.
I think he's made it pretty clear that he wants to go to Miami.
Yes.
And some of the reasons why, I mean, him and Bam, they have that connection that they made a big connection at the Tokyo Olympics.
Correct.
And, you know, some quotes here are, there's a big reason why he wants to go there with his connection with Bam. It's understandable in the stories right now. They connected incredibly at the Tokyo Olympics. You could see bonds being formed, and they've continued to stay close since then. And kind of like you said, he wants to go to a contender. He wants to go somewhere where he has some other pieces to use.
Yeah.
So talking about that, where do you think his best destination is?
Well,
and I know what you're going to say. So convince me on why Philly. Convince me on why he should go to the 76ers.
There's only one destination for you, Dave. It's Philadelphia, because just imagine, if you will, Morgan, the 1-2-3 punch of Joel Embiid, the reigning, defending MVP, back-to-back scoring champion.
Yes.
Damian Lillard, another 30-point scorer, and then Tyrese Maxey, that dynamo sonic that is Tyrese Maxey, carving people up. Now, of course, that backcourt would have some defensive issues because Tyrese Maxey, as great as he is and as great as Damian Lillard are, they're not really defenders. I mean, Tyrese got better during the Celtics series and kept being better and kept coming up with steals and stuff, but that's not their specialty. But I think with Nick Nurse in there now, speaking of 2019, broke my heart. Broke my heart in 2019 when they won that series off that Kawhi shot. We still don't talk about that in Philly. That's just D-Day in Philly when that date comes up. But yeah, so I just think that would be perfect for him, and that's the best big man and probably the best young player that Dame would play with since C.J. McCollum. But it's not just Philly. I have another destination for y'all, and this pains me to say it. It's not far from where we're recording this right now. He could also go to Boston. I hear my Sixers fans upset at me now for even suggesting this, but he could go to Boston.
You're going to be a traitor on your way home tonight.
I am. he could go to Boston, and I mean, the same thing. Just imagine Damian Lillard and the Killer Jays, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, and if they didn't trademark that, I'm definitely trademarking that, so they have to pay me. The Killer Jays, Jaylen and Jason Tatum, and Damian Lillard, which again, a 1-2-3 punch, a good offensive punch, a 30-point scorer. Dame would probably be like the second best player there, obviously behind Tatum. And you could probably make an argument, because I know some Boston fans would be like, don't forget about Jaylen Brown. He killed y'all during the series.
Yes.
So, yeah, we don't want to forget about Jaylen, but I mean, no disrespect to him. Dame and Jason Tatum would be the two best players on that team. But again, it's the same thing with the Sixers, right? They would have a backcourt that's kind of a defensive liability because they just got rid of Marcus Smart, sent him to Memphis. And so right now you have Derek White, a recovering Malcolm Brogdon from a wrist injury. And if they did put Dame in there, they'd have to find some defensive specialists. I mean, I feel like I'm saying the same thing about these two teams. They need some defense if they're adding the backcourt.
There is similarities between both of them, and I think that's probably one of the main reasons why you've given those two options other than Miami, because obviously Miami is the one that everyone's talking about right now, and we want to hear other places that aren't just Miami. Like, it's amazing that that's where he wants to go, but not sometimes. You can't always get what you want, right?
Look at James Harden, who we'll get to later. He wanted to go to Philly. They sent his behind to Brooklyn. Like, it doesn't always work.
Doesn't always work out.
And that's why I think that the Trailblazers, if they really want to maximize the value, because right now they have Anthony Simons and Scoot Henderson, which is not about them right now. We're on Damian Lillard, but that's going to be in 2 to 4 years probably one of the best young backcourts in the league.
Yeah.
So definitely, if you are a fan of them or you play fantasy basketball, go get both of those players. like it'll help you win something. For Portland, right? It's two things, right? They want to be loyal to Dame, obviously, but Portland needs to do what's best for them. At the end of the day, like, you have two of the best young players right now in the backcourt, and you have to do what's best for you, and you need to get some length around those players because, again, they're guards and they're shorter and they're not really wing defenders, so you need some wing defenders. And so for Portland, they probably need to do what they're doing now, their due diligence, find the best deal for you. Obviously Dame wants to go, but it wouldn't be the first time that a basketball player goes somewhere else, gets like a year or two rental, and then dips after free agency. So
speaking of these big names, you've thrown out a ton of big names already. Besides Dame, who, or maybe Dame is the next big superstar to move teams, who do you think is going to be that next big name player that's going to go, maybe surprising, leaving, but who do you think that next big player is going to be?
Oh, Dallas. I'm looking at you. Luka Doncic. He is dipping in a couple of years. I don't want y'all to be surprised. He is going to dip in the next few years. He's not going to be Dirk. He's not staying 15, 20 years, winning y'all one championship. He is dipping at the first chance he gets. Now, a lot of that depends on how Kyrie Irving and him work with a full year. You're going to see this a lot. Full years when people get traded in midseason. So I feel like with a full year, they'll actually make the playoffs this year. I'm not going to hate on Dallas too much. They will make a playoff this year probably. But I just think that, like, when you look at Luka, obviously he's looking at Joel Embiid, Giannis, and his international peers, right? Like Nikola Jokic, his fellow European, just won a championship and the Finals MVP. I just think eventually, like, he's going to look around, and obviously he's not in the Eastern Conference. He's in a weakened Western Conference where it's very top-heavy, right? It's literally just the Warriors, the Suns, and Nuggets. Yeah. And after that, it's pretty wide open. So, like, if I'm him and I'm just looking and all Mark Cuban and them have given me is a good but aging Kyrie Irving, I'm going to look around and be like, all right, we gave Kyrie a 4-year deal. Jalen Brunson, we let him go to New York. Like, I have nothing but Kyrie. And, like, we love Kyrie. We're on the East Coast. We're Northeasterners. We love Kyrie. But, like, Kyrie gets allergic to basketball.
Yeah, yes, he does.
Gets allergic to playing basketball.
Sometimes he's off the court more than he's on the court.
Yeah, sometimes he likes to take mental health breaks, which more power to him. We love mental health here.
But it makes it harder on your teammates that are trying to win championships.
Yes, they just need more than that. They need another scorer. They need a defensive specialist. Like I said, again, keeping with the pattern, right? Guards that are allergic to playing defense, right? Luka Doncic is allergic to playing defense. So, like, he gives up as many points as he scores. So, like, Dallas needs defense and they need a third scorer. Maybe that's Tim Hardaway Jr. Maybe that's somebody else. But they just need somebody who can help take Dallas to that 4th seed. Because, I mean, to me, if you're not the Warriors, the Suns, or the Nuggets, you ain't got no chance in the West, so you better figure it out. Like, you have to figure it out. And so I think, like, a lot of people are going to say, my guy Joel Embiid because of his comments last week, but it's Luka, man. It is Luka Doncic. Like, y'all don't have to look too far. It's Luka Doncic.
So speaking of these comments that were made last week, we're going to take a dip down to your favorite place.
Let's go.
We're going to head down to Philly, and we're going to talk a little bit about Daryl Morey and, you know, him pulling the trigger on Harden or Harris. Trade them, keep them both, trade one, trade the other. We have on here, scared money don't make money, right?
Yes, scared money don't make no money. Shout out Meek Mill.
Yeah. So a few weeks ago, James Harden, he said that he doesn't prefer to be somewhere else, but he just wants to win a championship.
Right.
Pretty much his quote, right? That he obviously he likes Philly or loves Philly, however you want to interpret that. I know you want to interpret it that he loves Philly and wants to stay there and wants to bring a championship to the city of Philadelphia.
Right.
But I think that a lot of people took that as he doesn't really care where it is, he just wants to win a championship.
Yes, Joel Embiid said that, and I think what was going on there is he was on his hip-hop and rapper celebrating their 50-year anniversary. He was on his Dr. Dre and Eminem telling Daryl Morey and them, don't forget about me. I wish his name was Dre so I could make that connection, but his name is not Dre. But don't forget about Joel. Don't forget about the reigning, defending MVP and two-time scoring champion. And this man needs help. He needs help. He is saying this is an SOS.
Yeah.
Like, he needs help. He needs some consistency. He needs a number two, a Scottie Pippen that's not going to run and be softer than cottonelle tissue when the going gets tough.
Yeah.
Man. And James Harden was that guy. Like, lest we forget, James Harden went up the road to Boston and beat them twice. No, 3 times. Beat them 3 times. Once on a last-minute shot, James Harden was that guy. And now he's talking about he wants to go to the Clippers. I don't know why he would want to go with sharing the ball with Joel Embiid, who actually plays in comparison to Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, and then trying to figure out how it's going to work with his former backcourt mate Russell Westbrook, because we know he ain't getting the ball back if Westbrook gets the ball. And Kawhi and PG, maybe it's because they don't play, so he thinks he can get his points and stuff. But I just think that for him, James, man, you just need to harden up, man. Yes, I did.
You did that.
I just did that. You need to harden up because at this point, dog, your value because of your antics in Houston and Brooklyn are just as toxic as Britney Spears' song, bro. Like they chose Fred VanVleet over you in Houston. Like, just like Jimmy Butler, when he beat Philly last year, was saying, Tobias Harris over me. I want you to get that in your membrane, James. They chose Fred VanVleet over you.
Okay, so you're talking directly to Harden. Now, what do you have to say as not even maybe as an analyst, but more even just as a sports fan, as someone who loves the 76ers, right? What would you say to Daryl Mooney right now, who said that he understands that Harden wants to go and he's trying to honor that? What would you say to him? Would you say that he should be trying to honor what's best for the 76ers, or that having Harden leave because he doesn't want to be there would be honoring what's best for the 76ers?
I'm saying he better hope, another Meek Mill reference for y'all, he better hope his dreams of turning Philly into a contender don't turn into a nightmare and end up on the unemployment line. Daryl, my man, I know that 97.5 The Fanatic last week, you did an interview where you basically said that you want to do what's best for Harden, but you won't do it unless it nets a star talent or picks that allow you to get a star talent. And Morgan, once I heard that last week, my ears went up because when Daryl Morey speaks, you have to listen. It's kind of like Joel Embiid. When Joel Embiid says something, you have to listen. You have to listen. So when Morey gets on these radio programs, he's literally previewing moves that he's about to make. And so for me, to answer your question from earlier, I would pull the Harris trade. I would pull the trigger on that. Get some role players here if they can complement Joel Embiid. As far as anything else with Harden, I would have to wait. This man waited on the Ben Simmons trade and netted James Harden. He needs to wait. But if I was him, I wouldn't even bother with the Clippers because I like Terrence Mann, I like Norman Powell, the picks, but that's not enough, man. That's not going to keep Philadelphia right now as a top 3 team in the Eastern Conference, top 4 team in the NBA. But they just need more wings and a consistent scorer. Somebody who's not going to be soft when Joel Embiid is off in the playoffs, or somebody who's not going to have, like what happened in Game 6, multiple shots at getting a 3 and getting rid of Boston for the first time in forever and exercising those demons out of Philadelphia, and everybody was bricking shots, man. They were building a house of bricks in the Wells Fargo Center. So, they just need somebody who can do that. And I feel like the best move is to send Harden to Chicago.
Okay.
And either get Zach LaVine or DeMar DeRozan and bring him in to the Sixers, because those 2 players are players that you never have to worry about. They ain't never seen a shot they don't like.
Yeah.
So those are the players that I think would be perfect around Joel Embiid. If I can finish on Harden, I just need him to come into training camp in October. Don't do no antics. Philadelphia, buckle up, because them antics are about to be, to your favorite sport, wide receiver diva levels.
Yes.
Like
yes.
it's going to be above. Like a few years ago, or not even, about a decade ago, Philadelphia went through this with Terrell Owens when he was doing sit-ups and push-ups in his driveway in South Jersey. James Harden won't be doing that. He'll be doing something else. He's probably got his fat suit ready. They just need to get ready. Like, Philadelphia fans, get ready. We're about to be the topic of conversation as always during that time. So they just need to get ready. And if I'm Harden, like I said, I harden up, I come in, I pull Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey to the side, and I say, hey, what do I need to get Tyrese Maxey paid? We need to get Philadelphia his first championship since 1983. Both of us weren't born yet when that happened. But like they need for that to happen. And so if James Harden wants to rocket his value up again, he plays. He does nothing for the Sixers but play, and earns and shows his value. And that right there will get him all the money he wants, because he's about to turn 34.
Yeah.
And in basketball years, he's about to be on the decline. So this is really his last chance of getting a big contract. So for him, he needs to be on his best behavior, and he needs to show that he's not toxic, that he can be a team player. And this is his chance. This is his prove-it deal, essentially.
I think sometimes people forget that your antics off the court, off the field, not playing whatever sport it is can affect these big contracts. And sometimes people, cry, and they're, not cry, but whine, and they're like, why am I not getting what I want? And sometimes it's like, maybe take a look in the mirror, just relax, sit back, and see what happens.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot we've talked about with the NBA. Before we head to, like you said, my favorite sport, the NFL, let's talk about kind of the winners, the losers, the free agency, kind of who's at the top of the NBA right now, in your opinion.
So the winners in free agency, let's go to Phoenix.
Cool.
The Phoenix Suns, man, they finally got some depth. Last year they kind of traded everybody to get Kevin Durant. And now they have their depth again. They got Eric Gordon, speaking of the Clippers, from the Clippers. He'll add some depth and some shooting. He can shoot the three. They've gotten Bol. For those of you Manute Bol fans, that is Manute Bol's son. For those of you who don't know, I know the two names might have thrown you off, but Bol. And so that's a good backup behind DeAndre Ayton. And I think that now that DeAndre Ayton has a coach that he actually likes and isn't trying to trade him, I think that it'll be way better for him now. And I think that with that depth, and obviously when you add, Bradley Beal from the Wizards, and you add all that together with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, that should be a powerhouse. It's definitely a top 2 team in the Western Conference. Then after that, because we haven't talked about this team enough, and I know their fans are upset.
Wait, let me take a guess. Are we talking about the Philadelphia 76ers?
No, we're talking about the Lakers.
Oh, of course.
We haven't talked about the Lakers. I'm sure there's Lakers fans right now whose ears have just perked up.
They're
because I've just mentioned
I've been waiting for them to talk about.
Yes, the Lakers. So they kept all of their free agents. They got Gabe Vincent from Miami. And they finally have a 2-guard who can take advantage of the wide-open three-pointers that Anthony Davis and LeBron James generates. And then also the Milwaukee Bucks, because, again, another team we haven't talked about enough. They got Chris Middleton. They brought back Brook Lopez, even made him happier by bringing his twin brother Robin together with him. And also they got Malik Beasley, who, again, is one of these guys who loves to shoot. You might as well just guard this man from the bus stop when he comes up, because, this man has never seen a three he doesn't like. He's 26 years old. He averages 11.5 points per game. And if you're Milwaukee, you need more guys like that, because they lost a lot of those guys in free agency, and you just can't have the bane of our existence, Grayson Allen, shooting threes everywhere. Those of you who hate Duke, if you know, you know.
Yes, big UConn fan here. So Grayson Allen makes me my blood boil a little,
Yeah, Grayson Allen. So now they have another guy, Malik Beasley, and then as far as the losers, it's the Denver Nuggets, which. Hold on, Denver fans. I'm not going to hate. But, they lost Jeff Green and Bruce Brown. And, those two were the lunch pail, hard hat guys on that team that guarded the best player, kept Jokic and Murray fresh. And so when you're looking at the Nuggets, they lost those two guys. They need to bring in more vets that can do that and keep Jokic and Murray more spry. And another loser, you referenced this team already, my Philadelphia 76ers, because I like Patrick Beverley, but this man is not a wing. And right now they have 5 setters on the roster. And to me, when you have 4 other setters not named Joel Embiid on the roster, you don't have a backup. So they need an adequate backup. They need some wings so they can once again be competing with Boston and Milwaukee for the Eastern Conference supremacy, to go to their first ECF since 2001 and ultimately get their first championship since 1983.